Hi, it's Jessie Switch. This is Jack Sins. If you follow my Instagram, I've spent a lot of time, even more recently, talking about men's mental health and trying to build up men's confidence. I think the dating world becomes easier for women and men if men go into it a little more casual, a little more relaxed, a little more confident, and I think therefore a little less entitled. I think it just makes the world easier for everybody. So I have Jack with me, who is a really good example of somebody who overcame very extreme social anxiety in general, but most especially as it pertains to interacting with women. I think for most people, that social anxiety usually starts like in high school. Was that the case for you?
I hadn't had any female contact whatsoever in high school until grade 12. And that would be the first year where a woman would actually show interest in me. So it was like a Halloween. We were just in class carving pumpkins, and then this girl, I've never met her before, never even seen her. I think she was like a grade below me, and then she just came up to me and just started being all friendly and stuff. And then we carved our pumpkins, and it kind of escalated. We ended up talking a lot more, and we ended up visiting each other's place a lot more. And I'd go to her house, play Guitar Hero, and we'd rub each other's back. There's a lot of like physical stuff, right? You think these are things that you do with someone you're in a relationship with, like back rub, lots of physical contact, and eventually it kind of just I just wanted to know, are we doing anything with this? And she ended up just seeing other guys. I was like, what? Like, what is happening? Like, I thought we were something. And I guess that's just so I ended up getting really angry at that. And
this is your like villain origin story, right?
This is the villain.
So you leave school, and then I feel like for a lot of people, there's a compounding factor there. So you went through high school not dating, and then you left high school to pursue something, and then that didn't work out. Like, everybody deals with disappointment, or like, dare I say, failure in a different way. Or rather, we all deal with it pretty similarly, right? So where was your self-esteem at that point?
It was pretty low. It was probably the lowest point for me was around that time. There's a lot of things going on there, like my dad, and then the dropping out of college and the lack of success with women. I think what I did to cope was I just played video games, specifically World of Warcraft. I was one of those. I was just in my mom's basement, in my room, playing around in the dark, late nights, and reading and all that stuff. So that's kind of how I just coped with it, I guess.
We want to date and have those fun experiences with people we find attractive, and not only when you cannot pursue it yourself for all the reasons that we've just listed, but watching other people do it with ease becomes very frustrating. And there's like an area of that frustration that I think is normal and healthy and totally understandable, and then it like slides to a different place on the scale. And I think, as somebody who clearly spent a lot of your time online between WoW and like other websites,
a lot of time, too much. It seemed like an issue at the time, but when you look back and you realize how many hours you put into it, it's scary.
Was it, so like I'm a drug addict, right? So I can certainly relate to hours lost in not good behaviors. Did you like stay up too late and then it affected you going to work? Did you?
Not really. It's never really stopped me from doing my responsibilities. I was always responsible in that aspect, but it did consume pretty much all of my free time. I'd wake up, play WoW, go to work, come back, play WoW, go to bed. That's all I really did. So, in fact, I had one character, so they have this thing where you can see how much time that character spent online. I had one, and this is just one. I had multiple. So one of them specifically had 365 days online. So that doesn't mean I was active playing. I could have just been sitting there while I did something else, but it just gives you an idea.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, a whole year in that character.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Before you found these like no good communities that you eventually found, it seems like you actually had a more peaceful acceptance. Not that that was necessarily the healthiest approach, but it seemed like you just thought, I'm not a good looking guy, I'm not the charismatic guy, I'm not, you know, the guy with tons of money. I think that I'm just the guy who is going to be a bit lonely and play video games, and that sucks, and I don't think anybody should necessarily settle for that unless it genuinely makes you happy. But it seems like you had acceptance of it, at least, where you weren't like filled with nonsense and entitlement, and then you found the red pill community.
So, you know, I came across this website, starts with a 4, rhymes with 10. If you know, you know, and you know the people that go there. And yeah, I kind of related with that website and the people there, and eventually it kind of let my resentment and self-esteem and all that self-confidence stuff just fester. And you know, I learned about the red pill community and all this like incel stuff, and kind of got into that because, you know, I was right for it. You know, I didn't like myself at all. So.
Do well. So I feel like a lot of people will get into this community, realize other people feel the same way, and then it becomes this like echo chamber, like you said, that this is totally normal behavior, right? And there's no reason to question it. Just feel sad and feel bad for yourself.
Same height, I was like 6'1", but I was really skinny. I was like 150 pounds, so you can imagine it's very, very small. And I just wasn't overall happy with my physical appearance. Like it was really bad. I would ask my friends would ask me to go out and stuff, and I would, you know, look in the mirror and be like, yeah, not today. I just didn't really feel myself at all. I was like, I just want to stay inside. I don't want to show myself anywhere. Yeah, there's some things you can't change, but there's a lot of things you can, and you should try to focus on the things that you can change.
So this is where I feel like there was a turning point, and I'm so glad that you didn't sink into that misogynistic entitlement. I'm so happy that you found your way out and instead looked at what was within your control, because you're right, there are a lot of things that not everybody has the same opportunities as everyone else. Life is unfair. Well, I'm sure that we can all agree with that, but you can sit there and cry about how it's not fair, or you can take action in however much or however little opportunity you do have to make change, to breed new opportunities for yourself.
I started looking at self-improvement stuff. I think one of the pivotal, or one of the pivotal sites that I've came across, Good Looking Loser. I don't know if any of you guys seen that. Like I don't agree with everything the guy did, but he really kind of inspired me, like to change myself, and he kind of showed me that it's possible to go out there and meet women.
You're onto pickup artists. I feel like you went for like the worst of it, and then like slowly, incrementally went your way into healthy, like seeking examples from men who don't hate women and don't want to treat women like crap. Like it seems like you went from the worst and then got better and better and better in terms of where you were taking your guidance from. But I do want to talk about the pipeline from lonely kid in high school just wants to have a girlfriend, which is like super understandable, to young adult man who hates women now and is in a community of people who also hate women and feel entitled to women's time and to women's bodies, and how dangerous that is, but how quickly it happens. Like you and 10 other guys sit around talking about how you're undesirable losers and you're never going to get a woman. Like, where is the upside to that?
There isn't. I mean, like, you just have to realize that, like, everyone can be transformed. Like, you think you're so far gone and nothing can happen, nothing can change. But like, there's things that can be done, and like, sure, you might not be like a fucking, 10 giga chat or whatever, but like, you're happy with yourself and you look.
The process is helping people develop real world skills. So we watched Good Looking Loser today, and we watched some of his videos where he's talking about if your whole fear is even approaching somebody, like don't go from I have no idea how to talk to women to going and talking to women in a bar. That's probably going to go terribly for you.
Yeah.
Instead, he gave you realistic practices to develop that skill and to overcome that fear. So some of it was like go to a mall and ask 10 people what time it is.
Do that for like a few days, and then the next level would be, instead of asking the time, just ask the random person for a high five. Do that 5 times, and then that's kind of how you progress to being able to approach a woman specifically with the intention of getting her number or asking her out or whatever.
Being rejected sucks. Having your kindness or your interest or whatever you want to call it rejected, and then thrown in your face, like in a way that is over the top, of course that sucks. But you should be able to move on from those interactions very quickly. That person sucks, obviously. So who cares if they don't like you? You dodged a bullet, if nothing else. We should be grateful for having immediate negative interactions with people, because then we don't waste time or energy on them.
Yeah, I think one of the hard parts of like social anxiety or like approach anxiety is you're afraid of those awkward moments, and you're just gonna dwell on them all day. Like that's what I wanted to avoid a lot. I'd rather not put myself in a situation where I have an awkward moment, and then you end up just never having that situation at all. But then you think about it all day, and then you just cringe, right? But like if you think about it, like no one cares more about it than you do. So
getting away from toxic ideology that is about wallowing in self-pity for unanswered entitlement. Then you got into following some pickup artists, not because, I mean, even now, like you look like a fucking Giga Chad, but you're not one, like not internally. You were never going to be that guy who was going to run around and be in the bars picking up drunk women and stuff. That was never who you were going to be, but they did give practical steps for learning how to talk to people, which started with start asking people what time it is, start asking people for a high five, whether they specified it or not. I can read in between the lines of that and know that if you ask a bunch of people for high fives, sometimes people are going to say no to you because they don't want to be touched by a stranger. That also gives you very small dose and manageable rejection. It's like exposure therapy, right? Like you're going to get rejected in your request a couple of times. You're going to realize it didn't matter and it didn't kill you, so it's going to lessen the fear of rejection. So there was a lot of actually like healthy strategies from guys who didn't really have healthy intentions. I think that it's okay to approach women because you are looking to have an adult encounter with them. I don't think that is in itself bad. I think that if you are deceptive or disrespectful, then it's problematic behavior. If you are bold enough, which a lot of women actually find attractive, to just say, you want to get out of here? You want to go do something? Just you and me? With no promise of anything further, I think that's perfectly fine. That's how I do it. I'm a fucking Giga Chad. Yeah. Like, did you go straight into weightlifting, or were you doing just like other stuff, cardio and stuff?
No, I didn't do cardio at all. I was straight weightlifting. You got to do the bench press, right? So you got to do chest and arms, right? Curls for the girls. No. Trust me, it's more like curls for the bros, not girls. So
it is one. I don't know if you guys have seen that meme where it's like what guys think will happen when they work out, and it shows like a big buff guy with a bunch of stick figure women, and then it's like what really happens, and it's like a big buff guy and it's a bunch of like stick figure men, like sick buff bro. Yeah. When you know objectively that you are boring as hell and that you have no interests, and because you've been a shy, reserved person, you don't have cool, adventurous stories to tell. What are you bringing to the table? Like, you don't have to be hot in order to be attractive. Does that make sense? Like, you can be a person who is not even like loud and lively and funny. You can just be somebody who's hella interesting. Mm-hmm. And you can be interesting right into a bedroom.
You need a good date idea. Geocaching is really good.
Geocaching is super fun. But like, I didn't think I'd get into it, but I super duper did. We'll talk about geocaching a little later. I had a bunch of like sweaty, like red-faced gym selfies on my Tinder, and he messaged me and said, potential swole-mates, mm-hmm. Which was corny as fuck, but at least it was something. You messaged first, right? Like you're, in all this time that you had spent practicing ways to just get used to talking to people, improving your physical looks. Like plastic surgery is not an option for everybody, but it is one of the tools that you used. You became more physically fit, you grew yourself a beard, you had like a distinct clothing style, you made yourself into a well-rounded person. I want to recommend is like have standards, like have a, and I'm not talking about how somebody looks, that's the opposite of what I'm talking about. Have standards on what you find to be a compelling conversation. If you're going to go the online dating route, like I was being dodgy about meeting up because that was like a very weird time in my life, but I wasn't dodgy on answering you. We spoke every day, we had long conversations, we talked about our interests. I remember telling you that I was not interested in a monogamous relationship at all, and you were like, I've never even heard of that.
Like, back then when I had dropped out of college the first time when I was in the computer sciences course, like, and I just kind of like succumbed to World of Warcraft and all this red pill stuff. I was really succumbed, yeah. I got sucked in. I was really like depressed at the time. I didn't really think I was, but I was, and a big part of that was I just didn't really have any goals in life. Like I dropped out of college. I didn't know what I was doing. I just like, I'm just gonna work at McDonald's for the rest of my life. Like I didn't know what my plans were. I didn't know what I want to do, and you know, my family was telling me about go be a plumber or something. I was like, oh, that's for peasants. You know, I don't want to do that. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and like that's part of why I got to where I was back then. And I'm not sure what was like the turning point. Maybe it was just part of like the self-improvement journey, but I ended up figuring out that, you know, I wanted to be a mechanic. I wanted to work in the trades. It was just that's what I got led to anyway.
Part focusing on making your life fun and interesting and happy, like that is very, very, very attractive. Very attractive. That's exactly what attracted me to you, was that I ran them through all these questions. Like I was like, how do you feel about trans people using bathrooms that are for the gender they identify as rather than what they were assigned at birth? And he was like, I don't care about what? This is like our first date conversation. And he was like, I literally don't care I just hope people get to use the bathroom and don't like shit their pants. Like that's all.
During my self-improvement days, I learned about a book, I think it was called Models. And
it's called Models Attracting Women Through Honesty or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what the slogan is for that book. Yeah. It's not like a pickup artist book, like if you know what I'm talking about. It's not like going to teach you how to like nag girls or all this other bullshit that people do. It just focuses on making yourself a better person so that you can attract women that way, and that spoke to me more than anything.
Right, and that's the ideal scenario, because ultimately we're not entitled to romance. It's a great goal to have. It's a wonderful thing when you find it, but no one is entitled to it. And if you approach your potential romantic partners with a sense of entitlement, that's an extraordinary turnoff, and it's a terrible mentality to have. And that entitlement actually compounds the pain of rejection and disappointment. Like if I see a $20 bill floating through the street and I go to reach for it and I miss it, well, it was never my 20 to begin with, so I just carry on with my day, right? And I said, let's go to the drive-in. Where I'm from, that's code for like it's about to go down. You go to the drive-in so that nobody has to, show somebody where they live, and you can get down to it.
I just wanted to watch Guardians of the Galaxy in the back of my Jeep, and then
all this happened.
Yeah.
I want you to tell them how you learned how to manipulate a body to receive your touch so well. Like you told me that you watched a series from an adult performer who like actually taught.
Oh yeah.
How? Okay, so I feel like I'm gonna say this because I feel like I know how to like dance around it in a way that will still make sense. There is an adult content creator who made a series for men to deliver contact to women in a way that the women would enjoy tremendously and messily. And he turns to me and says, I have to tell you something. And I'm like, oh, he's married. He's, he wasn't safe to enter. Like, I'm fearing the worst. And with a big grin on his face, he goes, you're only the fourth woman I've slept with. Because he knew he did such a good job, and he knew that I was going to be very surprised at the, I guess perceived lack of experience behind that. Like even in that moment, you didn't need to tell me that. Like, but you were feeling like a man, as you should. Like
if anyone's interested in these techniques, there's another website we can use to.
There is.
Do a tutorial. It's been pretty successful. Like I haven't been with a wealth of women, but the ones I have been really enjoyed it. So I don't know. Seems to be working.
Do you want to do an actual tutorial?
I mean, if there's interest, sure.
I think we should. Yeah. Or building confidence. Confidence that shouldn't actually be the goal. That's probably the first thing to conclude. Building a character, like not like in WoW, but like building your internal character and then building the life around you to both be things that you are proud of and that you take joy in, that's confidence will naturally come as a result of that. So the things that you did specifically to become not that shy, skinny little nerd who, you know, was terrified to talk to a woman, whereas now you're like, you're ready to do tutorials, right, on how to please a woman, which is obviously a big leap if you want to go from, you know, if you want to follow the steps of this giga chat you see before you.
I don't want to portray like being skinny as a bad thing. Like it just was for me. Like,
yeah.
If you're happy with how you look, then that's awesome.
Sometimes
I wasn't.
Sometimes being skinny is amazing because skinny men are always hung. That's like women who know. So sometimes just stay skinny because that like we're looking for that. But anyways, I would say write down a list of everything that you dislike about what's going on with yourself and all the things that give you insecurity, and then circle the ones that you have the power to make changes around. And then make plans for those changes, slowly implement those changes, and then become a version of yourself where you can say, I'm honestly doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Things aren't perfect. You know, I still have some issues for sure. There's some stuff here that is out of my control, but I'm doing the best I can, genuinely. That in itself makes you feel good. It makes you feel better. And people are attracted to that.
So guys generally don't talk about their insecurities that much. But the one I have come across a lot in my life is people who are not as like tall, right? A guy might be like 5'5", 5'6", or whatever, and I'll hear it like, you know, they struggle, and you know, with women who say you got to be at least 6 feet tall to date me, and like, so height is not something you can change, right? But it's something that doesn't have to drag you down, right? Women don't care about that as much as you think it does.
I've dated a ton of guys who are short, but one thing that is always a turn off for me, no matter what it is somebody who's insecure about it. So I love fat dudes. Like I know it doesn't appear that way, but I do. I love a fluffy boy. I want to, knead it like a little cat. I love it. But if you're insecure about being fat, then I don't like it anymore, right? I don't like that. Because even then, now I can't touch you in the way that I want to touch you because I know that I'm interacting with an insecurity of yours. It takes so much away from something that I could appreciate. I love short guys who do not care that they're short. Absolutely love it. And let me tell you something, we're all the same height when we're laying down. So if you can take that mentality into it and just let go of it and have it not, anything that you think is a defining feature is.
Yeah.
It'll limit your interactions. The way you focus on it will drive other people to focus on it. If you don't care about it, the people who care about it suck anyways, and good riddance, right? And the rest of the people won't care about it. You don't need to bring attention to your insecurities. Like you don't have to learn to love them because that's not a realistic goal for everybody, but you can learn to just not care and say, this is the deal, and if you don't like it, get lost, and mean it. That is a very empowering stance to take, let me tell you. Okay, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and share and all that good stuff. Thank you. Bye. Fat nerd.